Welcome to Rome. Behind me is the Colosseum. We were going to go inside, but we queued for about an hour and didn't seem to get anywhere, so we've actually flagged it because we figure it's pretty impressive from the outside and we want to try and see as much of Rome as we can. So there's the Colosseum. Now we're going to go and check out maybe the Trevi Fountain.
I think all those lovely people in Florence who we met a few days ago have all jumped in their buses and turned up here at the Colosseum, same time as us.
We've been frightened away from the Colosseum by the crowds, but the first impressions of Rome are pretty fantastic. Everywhere you go, and we actually haven't walked very far at all from the Colosseum, are these impressive buildings and ruins, so you kind of feel like you have stepped back in time a bit. So we've got, what is that behind me? We've got a
statue on a pole.
Church behind me. We can still see the Colosseum down that way. And then over here we've got this incredibly impressive building. Piazza Navona. It's a great place, full of pretty good buskers and street performers and just surrounded by super gorgeous buildings. Quite a few tourists here, but that actually makes it that much more interesting.
Is the Pantheon, one of my favourite hot spots in Rome. I was here 27 years ago. I remember just wandering in on a hot day. Magnificent. However, today, if you look over here, we've got this big long line. So again, we could spend 1 or 2 hours in line, or we could mosey on. I think we might mosey on. So here's the Pantheon, and here's the queue. And the queue goes down here, around here, around here, around here. It keeps going, it keeps going, it keeps going, it keeps going, it keeps going.
Behind me is one of Rome's stars, the Trevi Fountain, built in 1762, for those of you who like a few facts. It really is a stunning fountain. You do have to fight your way through the crowds to get to it, but even with all the crowds here, it's very good natured and no one's aggressive or anything, and I kind of find that the crowds just add to the whole feeling of the place. It has a really good vibe, and the fountain is definitely worth a look at.
I, on the other hand, don't enjoy the crowds and having to fight for things and wait around and wait around and wait around. Yeah, to me it detracts from the place. So yeah, we could be having another domestic.
Hi!
To be in Rome at lunchtime, the Spanish Steps. There's a few people out and about, as they are here in the piazza, and as they are down the street. the Vatican. We've jumped off the metro, but we've used this ticket here. €1.50 gives you 100 minutes of travel in Rome. It doesn't matter what form of transport. It could be the metro, the bus, the tram. You can jump on and off so long as you've got this ticket. 100 minutes. Well done, Rome.
So we're taking a break and having a bit of a bite to eat up in the park behind the Vatican. We think this area might be called the Grand Terrace, but we're not entirely sure. Great views over Rome, which we'll show you in a minute. We've got all these cool statues behind us. So there's busts of famous Romans. We assume they're famous, but Garibaldi's definitely here. So famous Italians and famous Romans. Pretty nice spot really, just to relax, isn't it?
And we're hoping to head back to the Vatican where the crowds might have diminished at lunchtime. That's the theory. Anyway.
That's the theory. According to the lovely woman at the tourist information office at our campsite, she reckons 1 o'clock is actually the best time to go, which kind of goes against the grain for us, because we usually do things first thing in the morning. So we'll give it a go, see what happens. So we're still debating whether we're going to actually go into the Basilica or not. I was really keen to come here, and so far it's looking pretty impressive. Neil obviously is not a fan of crowds, and I have to say, even though it is pretty crowded, this is low season, so I don't know what it would be like if you came here in summer. So I've decided to brave the queues. I'm not sure if Neil's going to join me to see the Basilica or not. Apparently I've got an hour's time limit, so we'll see where I am in an hour. Nice cold Vatican water.
So, what flavours today, Reno?
Well, today we have limoncello and mango and limoncello and what's that? Chocolate chip. That's your one.
Something chocolatey. Don't shake them.
No, they'll be fine. What started off as a bit of a joke about having gelato every day has actually turned into reality. But I'm not complaining.
Okay, without is U2 plus the motorhome, it's €19 per night, plus the city tax, that will be total per night 23. And you've been here for 3 nights, and total it's 69.
There we go.
Thank you.
So this Axie card gives us a bit of a discount in the off season. It's really paid for itself, in especially the big cities. You've left Rome. How are you feeling about that?
I really liked Rome. It was I don't know, it's one of those cities that feels really grand and really old and just somehow grounded. But awesome calibre of buskers. Really like the buskers. Really like the piazzas because everyone was just blobbing out. Also, really pleased that we waited that 45 minutes in the queue for the Vatican, because
it was
that
more than
St. Peter's...
45 minutes.
You timed it, you said it was 45 minutes.
For the first part.
Yeah, no, it was about 45 minutes. But anyway, it was worth it to see St. Peter's Basilica. That was the most impressive of all the churches and cathedrals and things we've seen. That was definitely the most impressive.
So, I think I mentioned that I was here in 1991, and the world is quite a different place now. Back then we just bowled up to the Vatican, wandered on through and wandered on out, went down the road, Trevi Fountain, and wandered down the road to the Pantheon. But now it's just the big change has been the mass of humanity. Tourism has exploded. It seemed like it was busy then, but it's really incredibly busy now. you've got these big queues, and of course you've got security. Security is a big issue. The world has changed.
Security everywhere though, because even in Beijing you can't get on the subway without having your bag searched and all that sort of stuff.
It's just the way of the world, and it just means that everything's a bit slower. And you've got a lot more people, so yeah, what used to be simple is quite time consuming, but that's okay. They just coming from New Zealand, I guess we're just a little bit spoiled for space, so we just have to learn to share, Renee.
I know, but when you come from a country of 4 million people, you kind of, doesn't take much to feel like you're in a crowd. But yeah, if you are going to go to Rome, and you want to see all those sites, you definitely should get one of those museum passes. Although you still have to
do some homework and get sorted in advance. Don't do what we do and just rock up, because those days are gone. Yeah.
And one thing we noticed in Florence, and it was the same at the Colosseum, is once those attractions reach a certain capacity, they don't let anyone else in, so you can end up, even with a reservation one, I think you can end up queuing for quite some time. But the cities themselves are like an art gallery anyway. But there's enough to do just looking at the cities. Yeah, I would go back to Rome.
Yeah, fantastic city. The other thing, unfortunately, and this idea was put into our head by a very nice Australian couple we met in Florence, and they had just had their van broken into. The door was jimmied open, they lost some laptops, and so they had big insurance issues trying to find police. Then they had to run around town trying to get their door fixed up. A lot of time, a lot of hassle, a lot of stress. That would be our worst nightmare. So that, and also people telling you about pickpockets and theft and mind your bag, and particularly in these tourist spots, we've decided that in Italy campgrounds offer that extra layer of security, so we can park our van, leave it for the day, and know it's pretty well secure, come back and everything's still there.
And the other highlight of Rome that we've got to mention was actually the bathrooms at the camp that we stayed at. So I quite like staying at campgrounds because you usually get really good showers and things. This one had massive bathroom and shower facilities, and they were sort of tiled on a cross between the sort of 60s and, you know, ancient Roman baths. But the best thing was that they had classical music piped throughout it, so it was, it was quite a different campground experience.